Okay, so this is solving these two inequalities. You might have noticed something interesting when you tried to check the solutions to this one. So you've got divide by -2, and you get absolute value of x plus 4 is less than or equal to -8. So I have x plus 4 is less than or equal to -8, and x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 8. So when you solve this by subtracting 4, you get x is less than or equal to -12, and on this one you get x is greater than or equal to 4. When you check these, it doesn't work out. And if you think about it, looking at the original equation, no matter what I get for the absolute value here, if I multiply it by -2, the answer is going to be negative. So when you check your solutions to this one, you would find out that there are no solutions. There's no solution to this because there's no way to make this true, this inequality true. So sometimes that happens, and that's why we check our solutions. Now this one, you have absolute value of 3x plus 4 minus 2 is less than 8. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. I have absolute value of 3x plus 4 is less than 6. So 3x plus 4 is less than 6, and 3x plus 4 is greater than -6. Subtract 4. 3x is less than 2. Divide by 3. Oh my gosh, what is the matter with me? Sorry, this is 10. Okay, so 3x plus 4 is less than 10, and 3x plus 4 is greater than -10. Subtract 4. 3x is less than 6. Divide by 3. X is less than 2. Subtract 4. 3x is greater than -14. Divide by 3. X is greater than -14 over 3. Check. Is if x is less than 2, greater than -14 thirds, well 0 is in between there, so let's just do 0. So 3 times 0 is 0, so 4, absolute value of 4 is 4, minus 2 is 2, that's less than 8. Check your ends. It can't be 2, and it can't be -14 thirds. So you're good. Okay, and then the next part of the lesson is just solving, it's doing what we did for the warm-up, solving systems. Remember, that's a set of 2 or more equations, and they have the same variables. So solutions are what to the equations or inequalities, and we're not going to look at inequalities, we're just doing equations, is where those graphs intersect. For a set of inequalities, it would be where the solution sets overlap. But we're just going to deal with absolute value equations today. So not where those graphs cross the x-axis. So it's not the x-intercepts. Those are not solutions to a system. Those are the x-intercepts are solutions to equations, but not to a system of equations. So we've got this system of equations. So I'm going to put that in my calculator. First, clear out the ones you had in there for the warm-up. And you type in, remember, alpha y equals number 1. You can get a fraction. We have 1/2. And then math. Use your cursor to arrow over to num. And then number 1 is absolute value. And then we want x minus 1 inside the bars. And equals or minus 2 outside the bars. And your second equation is 4 times 2 to the power of 1/2 x. So again, alpha y equals number 1. 1/2. Make sure you arrow out of the fraction before you put your x in. And then arrow out of that power before you put your plus 3. Uh-oh, got a couple extra plus signs there. Just delete those. Okay, now it looks right. And then just hit your graph. So looking at this graph, it looks like that exponential function is going to keep increasing like this. So it's never going to cross the absolute value, which is going in that direction. So the only point where they intersect is right here. So let's go ahead and find out what that point is by hitting second trace number 5. And you really don't have to move it if there's only one, but I'm going to do that anyways just to establish that. Move it over to that point till it gets close, and then it's close enough. Press enter. We'll keep it right there and press guess. And the intersection is at negative 9.3 and 3.2. So we know the answer, negative 9.3 and 3.2. Now let's go back and see what all those steps were. Well, the first thing we did after we cleared the other equations out was enter f of x in y1 and g of x in y2. Okay, it doesn't matter which order. If you did g of x in y1 and f of x in y2, it would be the same thing. And then, so y1 would be 1/2 x minus 1 minus 2. And remember, alpha y equals number 1 will give you the fraction. And then math num number 1 will give you the absolute value. And then y2 is 4 times, we use the multiplication key, 2 to the power of 1/2 x, arrow out of the power before you put the plus 3. Always look at your screen to make sure you entered it correctly. Then, just in case you've had to change your graph screen, you could always hit zoom 6 to get the standard window, and that's where you're going to be able to see your graphs. Find the intersections. Look for the intersections. There may be more than one. In this case, we had 1 point. And then you hit second trace. Oh, I guess we can do that down here. Second trace number 5. Move the spider over to the point you want, and then press enter 3 times, and then repeat for each point of intersection. So in this case, we only had to do it once, but you may have to do it 2 or 3 times depending on how many intersections there are. Okay, so you've got 2 to graph down there. I'm just going to show you the answers. You've got -3, -1, and -1, 1 for this one. And this one also had 2 points of intersection, 0, 1, and 9, 0. Okay, so you have a worksheet to do. That's your assignment for today.